What is up, everybody? I hope you guys are all having a good day. Certainly interesting with Bitcoin's price action, especially over the past 2 days here. I've talked about this a bunch of times. Obviously, these are really, really simple things here. The 21 EMA and the 50 EMA on the week. And historically, obviously, when these things cross and, we see the 21 dip below the 50, I think that was 2 or 3 times in Bitcoin's history on the weekly that occurred, and essentially like 90 days from that cross would be some sort of a bottom or near a bottom, around 90 days, and obviously drops of like 50%. I think the only time that it didn't take 90 days, which was March of 2020, whenever all markets kind of had that crazy reaction. But yeah, certainly interesting. Again, we don't want to see the cross. We want to make sure that we do start to see some sort of action that sustains above certain levels, and there's all sorts of metrics that you can utilize for charting. I'm not a TA guy by any means, but just looking at simple things that I like to look at. So this was interesting. This came out yesterday, not today. This is Tranglo enabling Ripple's on-demand liquidity service across its 25 payment quarters. I'm not going to get extremely deep into this, but I do think that it gets bigger the more that you understand it. Now, we do know, back a while ago, about a year, Ripple acquired a 40% stake in Tranglo. But now we do see the on-demand liquidity, which does mean XRP capabilities within 25 payment quarters. Now, if you look into Tranglo, obviously, quick fact bites, they've got 1,300 payout partners, 20 million transactions. To date, US $4 billion worth of transaction value. You can see where all of their offices are as well. And then learning more about Tranglo, this is what's really more so interesting, is kind of that tie-in within China. They do have a presence within China. We look at WeChat, we look at Alipay and things like that. This is how Tranglo enables fintech unicorns. This was literally just a couple of weeks ago that this blog came out. So, even on their website, you can see kind of the e-wallets and everything else. But I would recommend, if you're interested in what the implications are within this, to certainly go to Tranglo's website. What's really interesting, though, and I don't want to dig into the weeds within this too much, because this is just, Eddie has got such a pulse on what's going on in Japan and kind of in the kind of the Asian region, like, period. So like I'm trying to pay attention when I see announcements coming out of there and how she's posting about it. And she's retweeting somebody that had tweeted underneath her initial post. Ripple controls a 40% stake in Tranglo, who partners many institutions such as WeChat, that has 1.3 billion users, and Alipay, that has 700 million users. Ripple controls 40% of Ripple SBI Asia, that will link with Tranglo's 25 current ODL corridors. And I think, even within this is like an older document, like 2017 document, showing that Japan Bank Consortium. We can see SBI, Ripple Asia sitting within that group. So there's a lot of organizations involved, certainly, in a lot of these inner workings that are going on. It's almost like the corridors are just continuously trying to be enhanced in a way. So curious to see where it goes, though, certainly. This was interesting today to me as well. Visa and MasterCard block Russian banks from their networks after sanctions. We just see more and more of the same, obviously, for kind of trying to squeeze out the access into different systems for what's going on, obviously, in the world right now. Could Russia's banking path around SWIFT go through China? Now we're talking about SIPS. Now, SIPS had put out a patent for cross-border payments, blockchain DCEP, kind of like the WAN aspects, back in 2018. And we know that Russia's messaging system, I think, is SPFS. Certainly do a little bit of digging into that, because those integrations do exist. I'm not going to sit here and allude to anything necessarily. I mean, we know some of the blockchain networks that are associating themselves with China from supply chain aspects or whatever aspects, and we kind of know where these higher level initiatives are kind of taking a stance. But Russia and China have certainly been working on these things, just like all the other governments and everything across the board are working on blockchain and DLT. So it'll be interesting to see where things pan out, because there's certain things that are 100% tested out by now. It's like, when does that potentially happen? Again, not alluding to any asset or anything. That's just my opinion of it. I saw this, so this is also interesting. This is Nomura. Nomura, obviously a gigantic banking institution, a tier one, establishing now that they're a new company that they're going to be launching within their brand is going to be focusing directly on digital assets. So Nomura Holdings says digital assets such as cryptos, security tokens, and non-fungible tokens, which you probably heard the term NFT, are gaining presence as a new asset class. Now, that's a huge statement coming out of a bank like, or I should say institution like Nomura. We see it's not even rhetoric at this point; it's confirmation, and it's not even confirmation bias, because they're telling you that these institutions are looking at the assets that you and I are talking about on a daily basis as a new asset class, and it's big, and that doesn't mean that things don't get oversaturated, and that doesn't mean that markets are sustainable and just continuously go up. Market cycles happen. That's why people talk about volatility in crypto. It is what it is. But as the space grows, and as interoperability occurs, and as regulatory clarity comes into this space, this asset class and all of the other derivatives of this asset class swallow absolutely everything. Make no mistake about it, in my opinion, again. So yeah, Nomura, but basically reorganizing their future innovation company into a newly established digital company. Now, this is going to be effective April 1st of this year. The Nomura president and group CEO stating that this is an important step in the digital evolution of Nomura. There's some interesting things within here. We do know that Nomura sits on the governing council of Hedera Hashraf, and they're more of an OG partner, I think. So interesting. They've been there for a while. Yeah, because 2019 essentially. So trying to get to the leading edge. So if they're making announcements right now where they're pivoting their entire tier one banking institution, or at least one of the aspects within that banking institution, financial institution period, legacy finance institution period, if they're going to be rebranding one, solely based on the the digital evolvement of like everything, including digital assets, very interesting, because they haven't not been building for 3 years. So, and Nomura Research Institute also kind of falls under that umbrella. I always like when I see these announcements, I'm like, I don't try to make assumptions and state, hey, this is the most relevant thing ever. But if I find it and I think it's interesting, I'm going to share it. And this was a few years ago, so this is coming out of Nomura Research Institute, certainly under the umbrella. And they had a patent essentially for settlement system / settlement system method, mentioning Ripple, and then mentioning Ripple directly as a virtual currency engine. Now, this is like the patent, I believe, as well, though. But the patents, like the way that they're phrased out, always makes me kind of chuckle a little bit, because even though these are older, it's like there's assumptions being made that connections may exist based on just the writing of the patent. Again, I could be wrong. Given by assuming the currency exchange network for enterprise as network using Ripple, in which a function group necessary for currency exchange is provided and is freely usable for the EC settlement gateway, blah, blah, blah. Partnership with top clients. Now, this is just kind of dealing in Nomura a little bit here, SBI. This is that settlement system showcasing virtual currency exchange engine. And yeah, so there's certainly always going to be tons of news coming out. And I will say, staying on top of this space and like understanding where we're at, or at least what you're comfortable with, like understanding what you're comfortable with in this space is extremely important. So, starting to try to do these videos a little bit more consistent basis now. So, yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it, and we'll certainly post when there is something to post. All right, later.